Hello, my marvellous sausages. You know what it's like when a big DLC comes along? You've got to get ready for it. However, you know what? That's not actually true. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. But however, if you did want to get yourself in some sort of state, so you've got a bit of XP tucked away, you've got a few things stashed up which will help, then I've got a few hints and tips for you which can take you along that path. So first things first, your power level is going to be reset to, drumroll please, 10. So I'm dropping from 2035 all the way down to 10. But never fear, because it's just a number and it's just all relative. Do you know what I mean? But what we're going to be able to do is grind to the pinnacle cap of 200 each season, I suppose you could call it, and then you'll be able to expand your power level all the way up to somewhere in the region of 500. But the trouble is, of course, is that when we get to a new season, of which is going to be 2 every year, it's going to reset back down to the 200, so you have to regrind all of your power for your weapons and so on. So power is far more fluid than it used to be, and it's going to provide basically a constant grind in Destiny going forward. So that's what's happening with the power changes. You're going to be going up to 200, and then your seasonal bonuses will stick you up to between 450 and 500, and then once the new thing happens, it'll drop back down to 200 again. So this is obviously cheesing a few people off, of course, but, well, you know, that's just the way it is, I suppose. There's not much we can do about it. So there we go. That's the first thing you need to prepare for mentally. Power is totally changing. The next thing you have to think about is your armor, because we're getting armor 3.0, so everything is completely changing about with this, and you're going to need to get your head around how the new stats are going to work. Now, this is really complex subject, and they still haven't really released a definitive article about all the toings and froings, so I'm just going to quickly tell you what's happening, just in case you don't know. You know, we've got mobility and resilience and recovery and all that. Now, all of these are changing names, okay? So mobility now becomes weapons, and then we've got resilience, which now becomes health. We've got recovery, which now becomes class, and then we've got discipline becomes grenade, and then intellect becomes super, of course, and then strength becomes melee. So you've got these new stat categories, I suppose. Now, what's going to happen with your old armor is that your stats are going to translate over to that. Okay, hang on, I got off the wrong bloody screen here. So if I was to have a little look at this, right, you would look at it and say, well, my resilience, which is now going to be health, would be 21, and my recovery, which is now going to be class, is going to be 24, and for example, my strength, which is now melee, is going to be 20. Well, that all seems fair and above board. However, it's not going to actually work like that, because each kind of armor set is going to have it's not like an archetype, but like a class or a type. Now, I've been looking at a post on Reddit which kind of goes over this. I'll leave a link in the description below, but what seems to be happening basically is that a combination of 2 of these current stats will make an archetype. Okay, so the archetypes that we've got are Brawler. Now, that's a combination of melee and health. Now, what I mean by a combination of it, you get a main spike in your melee, and then you get a secondary spike in health, and then a third one will go somewhere else. Then you've got Gunner, which is in weapons and then in grenade. You've got specialist, so the main spike will be in the class stat and the second will be in the weapon stat. Then you've got the grenadier, so you've got your main spike in grenade and then in secondary in super. And then you've got a paragon, the main spike is in super, of course, and then melee. And then finally the bulwark, which is health and then class. Now, what has been noticed about this is that not all stat combos are there in those archetypes. Now, I noticed this being a kind of problem, really, when I have a little look at one of my things. Where was it? So, for example, I'm looking here at my Catch Killer's robes. You can see my resilience is 34 and my discipline is 22. Okay, so that's resilience and discipline. So that is basically my health and my grenade. Now, there's none of those archetypes that will cater for resilience and discipline being my first and secondary spike. So one of those is going to take a kick in and it's going to put it in something else. So that particular piece of armor that I've been using for yonks, the stats are going to be wrought to something different on that. But just so you know, if you're using a particular armor piece, there's a chance it's not going to have the same stats going into the Edge of Fate. But don't worry, Don't worry about that at all, because we're going to be having shed loads of new armor and new tiers, but we're all going to regrind. But let's face it, in essence, what Edge of Fate is a soft reset of Destiny 2, isn't it? Lots of things are changing, so this is the way it's going to be going forward. And another thing you want to think about as well in regard to the armor, you're going to get set bonuses where you wear like 2 pieces and you'll get a set bonus, like an extra stat or maybe an extra, I suppose, ability. Not an ability, but you know, some kind of passive buff. And then there's going to be 4 pieces of the same set will give you another buff as well. A lot similar to what I saw in the Division 2 when I was playing it recently, and I really do like that. And I'm actually glad they're bringing that into Destiny 2. So, the takeaway of this is, don't worry about your armor too much. You're going to be using the same pieces that you've got. But remember, you're going to have to grind for all these new pieces. So what you don't want to do is go and delete everything that you've got before you go into the Edge of Fate and go, I got bugger all here. You know what I mean? So just get rid of the arse that you don't particularly use. You know the arse you've got. I'll show you arse. Hang on. Here we are in my terrible vault. Look at the state of it. I'm going to be going through this with a fine-tooth comb before Edge of Fate just to get rid of it. I just seem to be packed and absolutely packed to the rafters with exotics and different exotic things. Well, anyway, so yes, so just keep the ones that you really like the look of. That's pretty good one there. Resilience and Discipline, the Worm Guard Tunic. So what's Resilience and Discipline? So what's that? Health and Grenade. Is there a Health and Grenade combi? I just said there isn't. So there we are. That's totally useless. Even though it's on a 67er, one of those stats is going to go into something else. I don't know if the stat's going to... I don't know exactly how it's going to work when the stats don't exactly fit in. So it's probably worth just getting rid of it. I don't know. Keep it if you want. It's up to you. My God, look at what am I doing? Look at that one. It's awesome. Yes. Now then, something else to consider is the tiers of the armor. Just giving you a brief idea of what's going on. I'm not going to go in depth into this too much because it's just mind-numbingly dull, isn't it? But anyway, you got tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When you look at my armor there, I've got 90. Okay, that's because I've masterworked it and all that kind of stuff. But what's this pile of dung down here? 56. So that will be a tier 2 piece because the total armor stats add up to 56 there, and that's going to be the equivalent to a tier 2. All right. Tier 1 is going to be between 58 and 54. Tier 3 will be between 62 and 68. Tier 4 will be between 69 and 75. And Tier 5 is a very, very small margin of only between 73 and 75. So Tier 5 gear, I think, is going to be quite hard to come by, and it's not going to be coming until we're in the latter half of the grind for that first season with the Edge of Fate, or whatever you want to call it. So that's what you've got to expect for armor. So there we go. It's going to take a lot of time to get used to it, but I think with all the bonuses and stuff, it will give you a new grind, but it's going to be an endless one. There's lovely. Now, weapons are also having tiers applied to them as well. Any new weapons from the Edge of Fate, all of your old weapons, none of them will be converted to the new tier system. They're going to stay as they are. That doesn't mean you should be deleting all of your weapons. Far from it, because just because it's not going to have one of the tier 4 and tier 5 spangly things happening to it doesn't mean you don't love using it and kick ass with it. So I would just not really go destroying everything in your vault, but just have a little look through the stuff that perhaps you don't need, which is something you should be doing anyway. Hey, did I show you my vault? Look at it. Look at all the rubbish in my vault. Oh my God, it's going to take me for days. I'm keeping all this crap. I never use any of it. So of course, it's going to be very useful to me to come and delete some things, and maybe this tier system is going to kick me in the butt to get rid of some of these, because I got so many duplicates. Sometimes it's ridiculous. I got so many of Aisha's care and I never use it. Stupid boy. Now, one of the things you want to start kind of hoarding really over the next few weeks are exotic engrams. You can see I've started to stash up on mine there. I need to get a couple more to fill up there, but I want to be going in with full exotic engrams with all 3 characters. Reason being, when you come here to old Master Rahul and his new reputation, well, it's not new anymore, it's been a year now. It's quite a long time. Anyway, you want to basically reset his reputation reputation here is to go to Prestige 1, like you can see there. So that means going through all the 15 levels in order to reset it. So on rank 16, it resets. Reason being is once you do that, you can then purchase the new exotic without having earned it anywhere or got it to drop out in the world. So you can see we flick around to these screens. These two screens, or this last screen here, opens up. This is the one which will allow you to purchase the exotic without having earned it, look. Because if you check here, this previous screen, which you'll see is on the third little dot at the bottom there. See, it's on 1, 2, 3. You can see here, look, I don't actually have this yet, the Wishful Ignorance. I've only just noticed this. Okay, so I thought, oh, I can't claim it, look, because it says unlock this item in collections to purchase. And usually you're expecting that to drop from somewhere, either maybe a Master Lost sector or maybe one of the Vex incursions that you can do in the Amuna. But because I've reset my rank with Rahul, if I come to the second page, you can see I can actually collect it off this page, look, because I've got... because I've done the reset, I can just grab anything that I haven't earned, exotic armor-wise. So keep that in mind. If you've got one of these squares blanked out and you've reset rule, come and get it. So this is what you're doing if you want to get your hands on the new exotics really quickly without having to rely on RNG. But, of course, it's expensive. You've got to put up his reputation. Now then, I can grab this here, one exotic cipher and one of those. Yes, there we are. Great, because I haven't got them yet. And you put the reputation up by decrypting engrams. So if you just do bog standard decrypts, if you decrypt a prime engram, I think it's about 100 XP. If you do a bog standard decrypt and an exotic engram, that's 150 XP. But if you come into the focus decoding here, and then you come up to this one, so you can focus for an engram from a different season or DLC. So you've got the Red War there, Forsaken, Shadowkeep, and all the others. If you do that, the reputation is slightly increased on those. So if you do those, it's a 250 XP for focusing those. And then if you go for a specific focus on any one of these, then it's 500 XP. But bearing in mind, of course, you are using extra materials. That's 2 Ascendant Shards there and 60,000 Glimmers, so it's quite expensive. So that's 500 XP there. So it's quite a lot of cash in regard to XP that you have to infuse. But it's a surefire way for you to get that exotic if you can't get it to drop in the world, which can sometimes happen. Now, of course, sources of exotic engrams you're just going to get from your normal kind of a weekly stuff if that's what you want to do. So you can see there I've got my Vanguard ones. I get one from doing a 1 of 3 complete ritual activities there, and that goes across the board here. You can grab them from doing Gambit, Crucible, many other things. You can also grab them as well, don't forget, from your season pass, but I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. So there we go. One of the things I can recommend, grab those exotic engrams. Now, another thing you need to make sure you don't miss, because it's going to be going, is collecting stuff from your season passes. Because they're quite high, aren't they? The level 200s, and I don't think I completed it for Revenant. I didn't enjoy Revenant very much, so I didn't actually complete the season pass. However, you don't want to miss out on any rewards that you might have got and not collected, okay? So what you want to do is come here to the Bungie.net, and then you want to come to your little profile picture, and then drop down to the season pass progress, okay? So the screen you're going to see, first of all, is to do with your current season, which is Heresy. So you're going to see anything that you haven't collected along the bottom here. Here we go, we've got the 200 ones. I basically collected pretty much everything, I think, for mine. And when you click on it, if you can collect it, it'll say claim. And you also have a list underneath of all the ones that you can claim. So make sure you look through that, but you can do this in-game anyway. However, the one you can't do in-game is for the previous season, which of course was Revenant. So if you look at the top here, you can see there it says 159 things that I haven't claimed yet. Now that number's a little bit weird. I think it triples up on things because of the 3 characters. And once you start claiming some of the ones on one character, they drop off the other 2 characters as well. So here we go. You can see there, some of the flashy ones are the ones that I haven't collected. Now, I didn't get any further than 191. So I've missed out on all of these, but I didn't have time, and that was the end of it, really. But save you scooting through the whole thing, look, what you can do is come down here, and then you can see all the things you can claim. So you can see I've got weapons I can claim, the vantage point, I've got strange coins, I've got a version of the Elethon, and remember I mentioned as well you want to pack out as many exotic engrams as possible. Well, I've got exotic engrams that I can claim here, look, so I'm going to grab them as well. Hopefully they'll just go into my Oh, it's gone to the postmaster, so we'll go and see if we can pick those up now as well. I'll claim these two here. Looks like they've actually gone straight to my inventory. That's weird, because I've come here to the tower, look, and they're not there. It's just full of all the other rubbish I haven't collected yet. So there, they don't go to the postmaster. They go to your inventory, which is interesting. Not to the postmaster. There we go, look, it came straight in while I was open and it filled up the gap, so it doesn't go to the postmaster, just in case. Let me grab another one there as well. There we go, great. So I'm nearly full now with exotic engrams, so that's really handy. So you want to make sure, whichever one you want it to go to, when you're actually on the screen here. Let me go back to the screen here. So if you want any of the rewards to go to, for example, your Titan, make sure you've got your Titan selected there. Okay, so that's a way to make sure they don't go to the postmaster, they go into your actual engram stash, which is not what it says when you click in it. So there we go, that's it. So a bit of news there for you, a bit of info. Now usually we go for bounty prepping, and of course you can bounty prep. What you're doing there is hoarding XP to stick into your character at very early point in the proceedings so that you're ready for the day one raid race. Not something I ever do, and I basically don't bother bounty hoarding. But if you do want to bounty hoard, if you want to grab a bit of extra XP, I might do the odd one or two just to drop into the character. What you're looking for are basically bounties that aren't going away. Now, at this point, we don't know if they're going to reset all of this stuff anyway. I don't think they're going to, but you never know. They haven't said anything about it though. But if you just want a little bit of a pointer of which ones to come and collect, and then you can cash them in after Edge of Fate drops, then you're basically going to be capitalizing on that XP. So you've got here like Shohan, they're what they called weekly bounties. These are all kind of slowly being phased out. In the tower now, the only person with bounties anymore is Banshee. We don't know if Banshee's still going to be having bounties when Edge of Fate arrives, but they haven't said a change yet. But still, it's worth bearing in mind that he's got bounties. They'll probably reset anyway with the new weapons and such, so I wouldn't really bother too much with Banshee. I wouldn't bother with any of the seasonal stuff as well, because of course all the seasonal stuff is going to be going away, so none of that's going to be relevant. But if you do want to grab a couple, first of all you want to come here to the Cosmodrome, and Shohan, look, he's got 2 weeklies that you can grab there, Public Disturbance and Full Spectrum. Then you got a couple here with Pet Revenge on the Dreaming City. You got the Ascendant Challenge there and the Gateway Between Worlds. Then we're here with Eris on the Moon. Let's just pop and quickly look at these babies. We've got 2 here, look. We've got the, what's that one? Slow Wave Disruption and Lunar Spelunker. And then we've also got one here over on the Lectern of Enchantment as well. There's 2 over here as well. Oh, I got a weapon there, look. Thanks very much. We've got the Nightmare Hunter and the Nightmare Sojourner too. And here we are on Europa with old Varix, and we've got 2 here as well. We've got the, what are they called? You've got the Courageous Expedition, and you've got the Heat of Battle as well. And of course, don't forget, you can also stack up on these as well, the your daily ones. They'll give you 6,000 XP. These will give you 12,000, the weeklies. These, though, the repeatable ones, the additional ones, I wouldn't really bother with them. They only give you 3,000 XP, so they're not really worth it. And remember as well, you've got 63 slots, but don't fill them all up, because you've got to allow for things to come in and out of your inventory when you're starting the new DLC. So don't fill up on everything. Don't ram yourself jammed to the rafters, otherwise you could bugger things up. Make sure you leave at least 3 or 4 gaps just in case. Don't forget, you can also come here to Star Horse. Oh, Sugar Cube, thanks very much, nice. And we've got these here. Look, we've got the unlimited horsepower. That's a weekly bounty there. Ace is high, old fashioned, but you can only hold 1 of those at any one time. So just bear that in mind for the Star Horse ones. Look, if I grab that one, the others will go blacked out. See, yes. Now, the main reason for getting this XP is to pour it into the artifact here, because you can get more of the artifact perks unlocked. So that's one of the main useful reasons to do that. But of course, it also goes into your season pass too, so you can build that up as well. And before you turn them in, after you've picked up the artifact as well, make sure you've got that first before you start turning things in. First of all, make sure you're in a fire team, because you get an XP bonus doing that. And also, if you've got blinding light, stick that mod on, because that gives you an extra 12% on your XP too. Now, it's always handy to have a bit of a stockpile of materials as well. Let's have a quick look at what we've got here, just to give you an idea of how much you can hold of each thing, really. Deep sight harmonizers, which you can use to apply to create weapons to craft. You can hold a maximum of 5 of those. The Ascendant alloys, you can hold 30 of those. Exotic ciphers, you can only hold 5 of those, so I just one off that. And for the Ascendant shards, you can only hold 22 of those. For the enhancement prisms, you can hold a maximum of 100, and that's locked the stack off completely. And then for enhancement cores, you can have multiple stacks of those, 999 per stack. The only thing I can't find an answer of yet, and I'm sure it's going to pop up some shape, is this, the Nightfall ciphers. Now, adept weapons are completely going. So will this translate to grabbing a tier 5 weapon in Nightfalls or what? We don't know how this is going to work. I think, well, I don't know, I don't bloody know, but I reckon that's just going to be kicked in the end, isn't it? It's got to be. It doesn't work anymore. It's because it's for adepts, and adepts are disappearing. So I don't know what to do with them, so it may be worth actually using these and cashing in to grab some of your Nightfall adepts before the change happens. However, like I say, we don't have that firmly in writing yet, if you know what I mean. Upgrade modules, you can only hold 25 of those as well. And don't forget, all seasonal currencies, they'll all be gone. Essence of Desire will be gone. Metastasized Essentia will be gone. Yes. What are all these? Oh, that's all for the Vexy stuff on Yamuna, yes. Now, they are going to be introducing one more new material, and it's called an Unstable Core, so it's another version of the enhancement cores. Because as I've told you, we're going to be going up to power level 200. So up to that point, enhancement cores are going to be used for infusing. Anything above level 200, you're going to be using the new Unstable Cores, but they can only be gotten from dismantling higher level gear, so that's anything above the 200. So that's something to bear in mind there too. Now, while I was on this page, I looked at the engram tracker. Look, I've got 99 engrams at failsafe, which is quite a lot. That's here, look, in the helm. So make sure you do spend all your engrams, otherwise you're going to lose, well, at the very least, you're going to lose loads of materials. So you can either just sort of de-thingy them there. Now, I can't do them because I'm full of exotic engrams. However, you could perhaps focus things here as well if you wanted something. So don't forget to do that. Look, I can get the chronophage there because you get the red crafted ones. Oh, this is very interesting, so please don't miss out on those, or you could miss out on a lot of weapons. So that about wraps it up, really, for what you can expect and what you can really farm for. I'm not going to be too stressy about it. The only thing I think I am going to do is I'm going to sort out my vault a little bit. So I've got at least 300 spaces left there because, you know, we're going to have so much new stuff. And basically all this stuff that we're talking about here within a couple of months, you're going to be pushed 90% of it away. So I wouldn't worry too much about stuff. I think room is going to be the premium resource going forward. Let me know in the comments if you've got any other hints and tips about what you're doing to get ready for Edge of Fate, because we'd all love to know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I shall speak to you all again very soon. Sausage ahead!